Good afternoon. My name is Doug Jarvis. I'm a student at South Alabama and EDM 310. Today with me I have Mike Ford, who's a health teacher at Theodore High School with 9 years in Mobile County Public School System. And we're going to discuss Tough Teachers Get Results by Joanne Lippman. And Mike, she talks about having a strict rule set in her classroom to promote structure. How do you feel about that?
I think it's important. I think mainly too, you should avoid having too many rules. I think many teachers, especially when they start, they try to make a list of 20 different rules that they want the kids to follow. And the children may not even remember half the rules. And B, it's harder to enforce. The more rules you have, the harder it is to enforce those rules. So I think really as new teachers, I hope you all can concise your rules maybe to the 5 or 6 most important rules and the ones you can enforce, and definitely make sure you enforce those rules. You don't always have to be nice to the students. Obviously, you don't want to disrespect them, but there's a place for constructive criticism, and I think the students at certain times need to be criticized because they need to know what they're doing wrong. And in many cases, some teachers don't always tell them what they're doing wrong in the classroom.
I agree with you. I think it's not about being cruel to the students, it's about actually trying to help them become a better adult. And she also talks about uh, failure isn't an option or a fear of failure. Can you just elaborate on that just briefly?
I enjoyed where she mentions that because many times now the students may know that they don't have to pass a class, or that if they just kind of keep plodding along, eventually they'll just kind of get moved along, and they don't have the accountability that they need in order to say, okay, well, if I don't get this done, then I'm not going to move on. And I think it's important to not necessarily have the fear of failure, but at least know that it's not acceptable in today's society.
And another really big important thing going on in the education world right now is teaching methods, and we're moving toward project-based learning. We're trying to get away from lectures and going towards more of a technological educational system. What are your thoughts on what is the best way to ensure that you're reaching a multitude of different types of learning personalities?
Well, I like the way we are getting more things in the technology and the group-based learning and finding new ways to reach the students. But I don't like the fact that we're kind of putting the ways of the past on the back burner. The things that we did in the past we're being told that we shouldn't do that. I'm being told that I shouldn't lecture as much, or that I shouldn't require the memorization as much. And some students learn best that way. I learned best that way when I was in school, and I've had students tell me that they like my class because of the way it's set up. And they want us to diversify the way we teach students. And it's kind of, you can't have it both ways. You can't say, okay, don't lecture, but diversify the way you teach your students. So it's the teacher's job to figure out what students learn best what ways. Because as I think I mentioned, in life, you're not always going to get to do everything you want to do. I get told to do things sometimes I may not want to do. Well, I have to do it. That's my job. So there may be those days where students don't enjoy what we're doing, but hey, you're not going to enjoy every day at work. So you have to go fight through those days and persevere through those days and make things easier for yourself by getting things done. And then the next day may be a day we're doing something that you really enjoy, and kind of understand in life that, if you persevere and you're resilient, that you can get through the things you don't like, the good things will come.
I think that's an excellent point. In fact, she goes into talking a little bit about stress and how it's not necessarily a bad thing to teach you how to persevere and how to overcome hard times, because in life, as adults, we all know it's not always, gravy. We have to work hard to get through a lot of hard times. And on that, some students, may not be the greatest students, but it doesn't mean they can't be very successful in life. And so what about brutal honesty? What about telling a student where maybe they shouldn't go to college, but they can be good students?
That's exactly right, in my opinion. And I've told students that, and maybe, I shouldn't in some situations, but I believe to tell them that maybe school is not the best thing for them as far as going to college. Not everyone's made to go to college. So those students shouldn't feel like, okay, well, I'm not great at school, I may not be able to go to college, I won't ever be successful. I've found that many students I've had that aren't great in the classrooms, but yet they go to our local Bryant Center for Vocations and they do tremendous things, things that some of the upper level students may not could do. So there's different methods or different ways people can be successful. And I think we need to focus and tell those students, hey, you know, you may not be able to go to college, but you can find a way to be a productive member of society. Because in my opinion, that's what's important, is teaching these kids we can be or you can be a productive member of society, and that doesn't mean you have to go to college to do so. We need electricians, we need plumbers, we need people to work maintenance, and we need mechanics. And those people make a good living for themselves.
They make an excellent
and
living.
many of them didn't go to college, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think we need to tell those students, hey, there's nothing wrong with you not being a great student. You need to get through this, you know, persevere through this, but that doesn't mean you have to go to college, basically.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you, Michael, for your time
No
today.
problem.
And I like your message. You know, it's all about teaching not just the curriculum, but also teaching children how to grow up and to be productive members of society and to be fine adults for our great country.
That's right.
And thank you again for your time.
No problem.